Lian Li is one of those brands that stand out within the chassis market with its aluminum construction and one of the best toolless designs that we have seen. This PC-A70F is slightly outdated, being released in 2009, so let's see if it still stacks up to our expectations. This full tower is priced around the $200 mark, so while it provides many of the same features as cases around a similar price tag, it also lags in areas that are becoming more and more important for an enthusiast builder. This Lian Li definitely resembles any other Lian Li case with its brushed aluminum, which you can only appreciate in your own sight. This case is therefore extremely light, however don't be fooled, it is also very tough. Starting at the top, there is the power and reset button, audio jacks, 4 USB 2.0, Firewire and eSATA port. At the top right, there's also where your hard drive activity light is located. The front has 5.25 inch drive bays with a 3.5 inch adapter at the bottom with two 140mm fans under the cover, both with removable dust filters. Looking at the back, as this is a full tower, power supply can be mounted either at the top or the bottom. We have our usual I/O area, exhaust fan, water cooling holes and 7 ventilated PCI expansion slots. The case is lifted by 4 removable feet, which are standard for Lian Li and can be swapped for the wheels instead, which are sold separately. Taking off the side panel, it's no surprise seeing non-black interior from Lian Li, so camouflaging the cables in this setting is a little more challenging. It no longer becomes a matter of hiding the cables, but cleaning them up instead. The power supply is elevated, however there's no venting right at the bottom, but instead it's located at the back of the case. The power supply itself is secured by this toolless clamp and to no surprise manages to keep it in place quite well. Now let's see how Lian Li manages with the cable mess. This is where this toolless clamp comes in, being secured right in front of the power supply. It sort of manages to keep the cables out of clutter and really makes a huge difference in keeping the inside looking organized. The toolless installation for the 3.5 inch drives really comes in handy and is hassle-free. You also have an option for the drives to be either facing the back or the front. However, for most users the back would be a more preferable choice in order to keep the visible cables to a minimum. You must also raise the locking mechanism to prevent the drives from sliding out. Only 2 of the 5.25 inch drive bays use the toolless system. All you have to do is align the optical drive and pretty much snap it in place. The 3.5 inch converter can be removed with 4 thumb screws with 2 on each side if it's not utilized. And to keep things uniform on the front panel, just replace the 3.5 inch converter with a regular 5.25 inch bay cover. The hard drive cage at the top of the case can house up to 3 drives, and an 120mm exhaust fan is installed to cool the drives. Unfortunately, if you do decide to install the power supply at the top, you're only left with 1 exhaust fan as hard drive cage cannot be mounted at the bottom. The case supports micro ATX, ATX and extended ATX motherboards. There are cutouts available around the motherboard tray to route your cables, and the CPU cutout is fairly small to current standards, but keep in mind this case is also prone to a lot of modding. In total, 11 3.5 inch drives can be installed inside this case, so issues surrounding storage should not be a problem. However, there are no mounting options for 2.5 inch drives, so you will have to get converters if you wish to mount any solid state drives inside this case. Also, if you want to mount the power supply at the top, you must use screws in order to secure it in place. Airflow is where this case is lagging behind its competitors around the same price tag because no fans can be installed either at the top or the bottom, and none on the side panel. Also, with the installation of the power supply at the top of the case, it leaves you only with 1 exhaust fan. Moving on with the installation, Lian Li provides slightly longer thumb screws to use for your motherboard. And securing your graphics cards or any other PCI device will be done by this convenient toolless system, which holds up just as good as your regular screws. The cable routing inside the case, as you see, requires a bit more work, and unfortunately there are no cable tie mounting at the back of your motherboard, and you will have to get creative if you desire a clean looking interior. Tucking away the cables inside the hard drive cage would be a common approach towards cable management, but keep in mind the modding options available to turn this case from a moderate full tower into an enthusiast gaming chassis. The Lian Li PC-A70F has its strength in aluminum construction that has quality written all over it, one of the best tools designs that we have seen, incorporating everything from the power supply mount to securing your motherboard, and the large size of the interior can house pretty much any available hardware, and the overall exterior design gives the user stylish aesthetics that meets the Lian Li craftsmanship. On the downside, airflow for a case this size may become a potential issue, and no interior water cooling options means a big drawback for this full tower chassis. And that is it for this episode of Hardware Canucks product review. Please don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.